Underdress.
Underdresser. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah, that's all I was gonna
dun,
do.
dun, dun,
But I
dun,
thought,
dun,
nah,
dun.
that's too dorky. She wouldn't get it. You did get it. Underdresser. Dun, 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 dun.
Boom, boom. Because I'm a huge dork. Duh.
What else is new? Oh my God.
Oh my God. I'm like a huge dork, whatever. Well, Daniel, are we already
Hmm.
breaking? Are we already breaking the new tradition that we started our last Late to the Game episode? Where are you?
About
What kind of shirt you
t-shirts?
wearing under there? Yeah, what you got? What you show me?
Well,
What you
it's
got?
not a movie t-shirt. It's a sports one.
Okay,
I'm
okay, okay.
Kansas
So
City out today. It's
this
Red
your
Friday.
hat too? Okay, your hat too.
It's
Okay.
Red Friday today. Red Friday is a tradition in Chiefs Kingdom where they wear red and you wear Chiefs gear on Friday, the weekend of a
Oh,
game.
oh. So Daniel, what's your favorite football team?
It's the Browns. Dun, dun.
So if the Browns play on the weekend, is it Brown Friday?
Well, that's what they say when you have talk about Thursdays. Let me tell you this. you know, there's a good poop joke in there. When you say, "Oh, where are you going?" I'm taking the Browns to the Super Bowl, and that's the funny thing because the Browns have never been in the Super Bowl. So when you say that, you immediately know what they're talking about. Clearly, the actual team and them are poop.
Okay, so it's shirts. So if you like football and sports, vote for Daniel below. If you like sorry, romance or French women, I'm assuming she's French. I'm assuming her background or vices. Vote for my shirt down below.
You know what's funny? I actually didn't mean to dress Red Friday. It's a real thing that they do. I didn't dress like this for that. I just happened to throw on a
Uh,
sweater because I'm cold. Just happened to have a t-shirt and I just threw on a hat. But like half my hats are like Chiefs. So I had about a 50-50 chance. All about that red. About that red. Red Friday.
oh God.
Got that out.
Okay,
I can't be singing Mega Trainer on this.
from movies to video games. Welcome to Replays It All. Today's episode is Late to the Game, where my co-host Daniel forces me to watch popular movies that I embarrassingly have not seen.
Yes. So far, she gives me these great nicknames every week, and this one is Daniel. Haven't been called that yet. That's a great nickname. So I had to present to her a movie that she hasn't seen, and she has to ask a series of questions about the movie prior to seeing it. And we get to go watch the movie, come back and see how right or how wrong she is about the movie, about said movie, and then will she rage quit or play it back? But if she's seen it, then she can play the Uno reverse card and force me to watch it, which has only happened once on the show and never again.
I just think, wait, did you hear something?
Mm-mm. I heard
You
my
didn't hear
chair
that?
moving. Mm.
It sounded like me hijacking this episode, Daniel.
That was a setup?
It was
All
a
right. Huzzah!
uh, um
Okay.
yeah, I'm hijacking it. You're not giving me a movie to even choose from. I am doing this to you today. I'm forcing you to watch a movie that I know you haven't seen because I've been bugging you to watch this movie for a while and you haven't. And so I'm just gonna force you. And that's kind of like why I'm glad that this show exists because lots of people have told me you gotta watch this movie, Marie, you gotta watch this movie, but I probably won't watch it unless I'm being forced. And now I'm doing it to you. I'm forcing you to watch this movie because I have feelings about it and I want to know your feelings.
Yes. I got to sit there and say, I'm going to rage quit it before I even get to watch it. Huzzah!
Okay, so you already know what this movie is, Daniel. I'm not even going to surprise you with this one because I've been bugging you for so long. But the movie
Mhm.
that I'm giving to you is Life is Beautiful.
So I know the title and I know absolutely
Yes.
nothing about it. And I purposely stayed
Ex-
away from it.
Except that I told you which country it was made. I did tell you that, if you remember.
Italiano.
Yes. Um, all right. So are you ready for this pop, 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 pop?
Yours sounds like like a 1950s dance or something.
That's why I'm always doing the hands. Pop, 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 pop quiz, hot shot. Pop quiz, hot shot. Get those juices flowing.
All right. Okay, now they're flowing.
Okay, Daniel, what is the movie about?
Okay, the movie Life is Beautiful is actually a playoff word because life is not beautiful in this movie. It's
Hmm.
actually anything that can go wrong in this guy's life is going completely wrong. right? So we open up and he has a life-threatening disease. He has only 60 days to live. His wife just left him. His kid disowned him and wants nothing to do with him. He just got fired. It's a play off of the thing because he's trying to find the beauty in life, but it just doesn't exist around him. But he sees everybody else around him that actually life is beautiful and it's poetic. And he's trying to find the joy in other people's happiness, but he doesn't because everything is going wrong for this guy. For instance, he goes to buy a lottery ticket and you think, oh, the worst case scenario is you just lose the $5 that you did it. No, he also loses his wallet and he loses the rest of his money. So anything that can go wrong goes wrong, right? He goes and he fills up his car, right? And you think, oh, he's just putting in gasoline. Maybe he has to pay for the premium. Wrong. He put in diesel in his car and his car shuts down because he put in the wrong gasoline. Life is beautiful, just not for him.
So is this him struggling to try to find the beauty in life, even though all these
Correct.
bad things are happening? Or is it a sad movie because everyone else can have this beauty and he's just not experiencing it?
Yes and yes. So when you
Okay.
sit there and you think about the beauty of people, right? Not everybody can be completely beautiful because if everybody was beautiful, then the idea of beauty would just be washed down. So what that means is there has to be some fuglies out there. There has to be. You have to balance out the universe in order for the beauty to stand out. This guy is a life of fuglies, just a series,
Yeah.
continuous case of fuglies over and over. Life is playing the huzzah to him over and over again. So he's taken. So if
Okay.
anything, he's a savior because he's taken the ugly toxins from everybody else. So thank you for
Mm.
this.
So it's kind of like a question mark, like life is beautiful. Like it's
No, it's like life is beautiful. Dot dot dot. Just not for you.
uh-uh. uh I want to watch this movie so bad. That sounds so good. Maybe that is exactly what this movie is about. I
Yes,
don't know. If
I
it's not,
do.
I think you gotta make this because this sounds good. I want to see it. It's like a disaster
Me too.
movie. Let's go.
Yes. Yep.
The movie takes place during a historical event slash time period. Okay.
Yep.
What historical event slash time period is that?
The collapse of the Berlin Wall. Even though
Mm.
it doesn't take place in Italy, its ramifications is spread throughout all of Europe.
How does it affect his life? I mean, it must
If
because everything's a disaster for him. So he's going to
exactly
feel the
because you
effects.
know
Okay.
why? Because that is a symbolism for his life. It's the collapse of his own happiness. So whereas for the rest of the world, the collapse of the Berlin Wall is supposed to be good, some would say, right?
Mhm.
To him, it wasn't. So it's the opposite again. So if everything else where life is beautiful because he represents the toxins of the world. That's what it is. Despite
Mm.
him being a good person, he's got negative karma, right? There's karma that exists everywhere.
Right.
He's absorbing the negativity. He's the magnet that we need so that way everybody else can have a beautiful life.
Ah, so it's like almost like a power.
No. Well, yeah, more like a cursing. He's
A curse.
cursed.
Yeah, right. But it's for kind of for the good of humanity. Think about it.
Absolutely is for the good of humanity. But he doesn't find that is very positive, right? Because
Mhm.
everything, imagine being on that side of it and everybody's like, thank you so much, Marie. Thank you so much because I'm having a great night. It's like, oh, are you? Are you having a great night? Because I'm
At my
not.
expense. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like that. It's almost like the opposite of It's a Wonderful Life, kind of, or a little bit like that as well. But it's not a wonderful life for him.
It's a fugly life.
It's a fugly life. Yeah, exactly. The Browns ain't the only thing going to the Super Bowl. Let's tell you that much.
Okay, so my question would be like, is he viewing everything as a negative? Like, is he looking at his Berlin Wall life as just a collapse, but not seeing the beauty in it? No, it sucks. It's fugly.
It sucks, but he's trying to find the beauty, but just life is just
Ah,
not giving it to him, and everybody around him is seeing it, and he's trying to view it optimistically, but it's not happening, right? It's just
right.
negative things over and over. And he's got 60 days, and you normally think, well, if your life's in the perils, you can either sit there and say, "Woe is me," or you could try to grasp and chase the beauty of life and appreciate it for the last 60 days. He's trying to do the latter, but the former is forcing itself and the clutches around him.
Guido works as what?
Okay, now you're just being racist here. That is not
You
his
know what?
name, okay? That is a
Guido,
derogatory term towards
Guido,
Italians.
telling you. Am I making it up? He's gonna have to watch the movie and see.
Yep.
Anyway, he works as what, but he is trying to open what kind of business?
Okay, he
He
does
works as
what?
one thing.
Insurance. He
Okay.
wants to be, yes, he wants to be a male model. That's what he
Oh,
wants to do.
he's trying to open his own male modeling business just for himself to represent himself.
Yes, essentially that's what he's trying to do. Now,
Mm.
he would love representation, but seeing as nobody wants him, he has to do it himself. So he's using his insurance, his insurance background of admin and paperwork and very tediousness of establishing this business LLC and creating this fake business. That's what he's doing.
Okay, so and as someone who works in insurance, I'm pretty sure he would have a very male model-esque physique, right?
No,
Sitting
that's the
at that
ironic
desk.
part. He doesn't. Nope.
Ah.
He just he's just a little man with glasses and balding of some sort, some chest hair, but like not the attractive chest hair. It's the chest hair that kind of goes all over the place and like it's
Oof.
doesn't quite grow in unison, but it's like patchy. It's like the second stage of a werewolf transformation. It's like that, like barely the second stage, and you think, oh well, how many stages are there? Like 4? No, there's like 17. He's at
Oh, it's
stage
only
2 of
second.
17. Barely second.
Oh.
So it's like it's just barely starting to come out, but like he's still human looking, but like the face kind of moved a little bit. We're like, okay, you're just an ugly man at this point.
Ah. Oh, so everything on him is like contorted for the second stage werewolf transition.
Not everything. It's just starting to. So there's a little bit of contortions in there. Like it's just a
Yeah.
little, it's a little contorted, like a little hair, patchy hair that's like didn't need to be on your shoulder or the back of your shoulder. I'm answering everything without any second of thought or hesitation.
Mhm.
I'm just blurting out answers.
I couldn't tell at all. Now I feel weird saying his name now, but when Guido first meets Dora, what does he do to her thigh and why?
Okay. You sit there and you want to think that it's something sensual, but it's not. He accidentally burns her. So they meet at a coffee shop, magic behold. But when he orders the coffee, they made it a little too hot. So when he's there talking to her, he's a klutz, obviously, spills it onto her thigh, burns her, gives her third-degree burns, enough for that to sue the company then at that point. She sues the company. It's kind of like a McDonald's, where it's a little too hot and you think it's ridiculous. It's coffee, blowing the damn coffee. But regardless, too hot, spills it. She gets $1.7 million out of it, out of the settlement. He doesn't get anything. Again, life is beautiful for her, not for him. Poor
Right, but
Guido.
because of him at his expense.
Yes, but it's easy to say that when he's not the one that's lavishly living this lifestyle. She is.
Exactly.
So he's
No.
trying to, and that's the thing where life is beautiful because he's trying to maintain this level of optimism and he just needs something. The universe needs to give him something. Give him a win, man. Give him a win.
So that's probably the end of him and Dora's interaction, I'm guessing. Like that's
No,
it.
they still interact and stuff, and maybe she's like the love
Okay.
interest that he tries to chase, but she's just no, she's living lavishly now. Now she's dating Brad Pitt, so she's not gonna have time for him. Come on.
She can afford
Sorry,
him.
Guido.
So
She can afford him. Yeah, exactly. Because at that time, 1.7 million is a lot more money. Right now, 1.7 million, I mean, it's like, it's like the cost of a McDonald's meal.
yeah,
Inflation.
that
Am I
has
right?
coffee that's gonna burn you. Has coffee, it's gonna burn you, and blah, the cycle continues.
There you go. There you go, right? It's inflation.
What does Joshua think that him and his dad will turn into?
They think they're going to be a tag team wrestling champions. That's what they think.
Mm.
So they think they're going to be the heavyweight world tag team champions, but clearly they're not. Again, dreams don't always live up to expectations.
Okay, so Joshua and his dad are also the good things aren't gonna happen to them though.
No, it's something different, right? This guy comes in and impedes it. So they were never destined for that. That was just their dream. And that's where you find
Okay.
life is beautiful because it's not what you think it is. It's life, right? Life always throws you lemons, as they say. So you make, lemon pie, as they say.
It just had to be different. I knew it. I'm like, what lemon thing is he gonna come
It's not
up
gonna be
with?
lemonade. So,
What's he gonna
but that's
say?
the thing, right? Life's gonna throw things at you, and that's the point. Is that life is beautiful. You still have to find the optimism and the joy in everything, despite the fact that it's not going exactly as you wanted. So, like you said, what was that girl's name again?
Dora.
Dora. That's right, Dora the Explorer. She didn't want to get burned in the thigh. Life presented that obstacle for her, but look how it ended up. Brad Pitt. Life is
Brad Pitt.
beautiful, which is actually his character's name in the movie.
Is his name Life? Are you saying he's Life and he's beautiful?
Yeah, his name's Life in the movie. So,
Oh.
yeah,
That's
there you go.
interesting.
The writer's a little on the head, a little too on the head, a little too on the nose with that one.
What very important matter does Dr. Lessing need to talk to Guido about? I mean, I think you said in the beginning.
The removal of the
less.
chest hair. The removal of the chest hair. Because at this point, it's like, because Guido loves to wear button shirts and he loves to wear it with the second button open, obviously, even third button. He wants the third button, right? I mean,
As
he
Guidos
has
do.
his, as Guidos do. Yeah, yeah. Now all of a sudden I realize it sounds stereotypical, but he has his great grandfather's chain that he used to wear way back in since World War One. So young Guido loves to wear this gold chain. So, that's like the one positive thing that he has in his life that it was passed down to him. And he wants to proudly wear it, especially in his last coming days of 60 days. And, chest hair just looks ridiculous. He keeps getting tangled in the chain and it keeps getting
Yeah.
pulled out. And it hurts. Really hurts.
Wow, yeah. It's a very important matter that a doctor needs to address.
Yes.
Dr.
Because we didn't say
Lessing.
what type of doctor. Skin
Could be a
doctor.
doctor. It's okay. It could be a
A hair
doctor of hair
follicle doctor.
removal.
Yeah, exactly. So
According to Guido, what are the
mhm.
3 rules of the game?
Of the game of male modeling, right? You better accentuate that chest hair. Absolutely accentuate that chest hair.
Mm.
Right? That's
Okay.
why maybe another reason why he opens it up, but except his grows a little differently. 2, wear those insoles in your shoes that makes you look taller because he absolutely needs it. He's like 5'2", maybe, let's say.
Oh.
About 5'2". But with these insoles, he's 5'7". So these are
Oh.
5-inch shoes that make him look. So people see him, they look kind of ridiculous, like giant freaking like stormtrooper boots. Like they look ridiculous. So all of a sudden his like knees are a little too high where like the bottom of his leg should be. So it looks kind of ridiculous. And number 3, drink coffee. That's why the hens with the coffee and spilled it on Dora's thigh. See how it all ties together?
Oh.
Yep, all
Well,
ties together.
maybe he's so short because he drank too much coffee, though. Because isn't that a thing? Doesn't caffeine
Yep.
can't that do that?
It is. Young little Guido was drinking it at 6 years old. He's drinking his mom's coffee. So
In Italia,
there
just
you go.
got some
In
espressos,
Italia.
just
There you go.
how do you win the game and what is the prize?
Well, first of all, your name has to be Life because again, Brad Pitt, he won the game of modeling. And what was the prize? The opportunity to be to be spoiled by a sugar mama, Dora.
Because
Hmm.
Brad Pitt ain't got no money either, so he needs
He's
that
got no money.
1.7
He's got none
mil.
at all. None at
Gotta
all.
carry him. So being a male model doesn't sound very lucrative, or is that the word? Doesn't
Yeah,
sound
yeah, yeah.
very.
That doesn't really do much, because they're in Italy, right? So you figure a lot of modeling will be around Italian clothes, but there's Italian clothes everywhere. All clothes there are Italian, so there's nothing fancy about it. We as Americans look at it and thinks it's so fancy, but out there it's just a regular t-shirt. It's like buying it at the Gap.
But what is the game really?
How many questions is there?
You gotta know the 10.
Okay.
I'm almost at
Okay.
10. I'm almost done. One more
Okay.
after this.
Okay. Okay.
What is
Okay.
the game really though? What is it really?
It's really about the metaphor of life and how you strive to represent something that's beautiful, but deep inside it's not. Right. So like
Mm.
even doing like the male modeling, but then what they don't tell you is that you don't eat for like 2 days when you're going there trying to show your bare chest and your stomach. Right. So that's what the real game is that you're giving a false sense of beauty. You're selling an image of beauty and what life is supposed to be when it's actually not.
So is Brad Pitt the physical embodiment of this metaphor? Since his name is Life, he is beautiful on the outside, but inside he's not.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. See? So
Leave that one to you.
clearly.
Just like yeah, exactly what I
That's
meant.
exactly what it is. Yeah. No, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. So that's why he kind of comes off a little bit as the antagonist, which is the villain, because
Mm.
he's the exact opposite of where our character Guido, is.
How does the movie end?
He's sitting on a park bench looking out. With his effect on the character of Life has a full transformation, and you think that our character Guido is as well. You figure he's gonna have his epiphany where life is so beautiful and stuff. But just when he starts to sit there and see the sun dropping, the sunset, and everything looks so beautiful in the park, he himself just barely starts to realize that his life all along was beautiful until chokes and dies right there. So he never got the full thought in the image of his head. Poor Guido. He died just on the cusp of just realizing his giant epiphany, what the alcoholics refer to as, a moment of clarity.
Oh man,
Mm-hmm. Poor
teared up,
Guido.
teared up, teared up. Daniel. Sad.
Mm-hmm.
Like ironic and sad, but so is his life. So is his life, And then his
So it's
Brad Pitt
his
just
life.
gets to keep on going, even though he's a
Him and Dora have a very flourished relationship. It's like it's fully
mm,
multi-dimensional. They live happily ever after. Even the tag team father and son, they find a moment of joy within their outcome and their careers. And like everybody has a good life. And that's the idea, right? Life is subjective. Life is not the same. It's not consistent for everybody. So who's to say? It's almost like saying like the air, right? But there's different air qualities everywhere. So with life,
just like
it's
that.
just fluid. It's across the whole earth, right? So that's what we're seeing. So this guy just represented a blip of life that was insignificant, ultimately. Helped others, but didn't help himself. Such life is beautiful for the others.
That was beautiful, Daniel. I'd watch the heck out of that.
I would too.
Okay, let's get into it. Let's get into what we can do for a transition. The Berlin Wall coming down,
Yes.
or we got all our chapsticks on, so we're ready to record.
Can't even hear that, huh?
Slightly.
What you should do then is just add a bunch of different sound effects. So I'm like, can you hear this? You're just hearing a bunch of different sounds. There you go.
Let's get into this movie that I was dying for you to watch. And also, if I'm coughing a lot, I'm sorry. And also, I sound like this, so you just have to deal with it.
You thought life was beautiful. Well, it's not once you hear this voice.
It's not. Well, actually, I like it better with this voice. I think it's more beautiful, but it doesn't feel beautiful, but that's okay. Pain is beauty. Pain is beauty.
What only matters is how people interpret you, never how you feel about yourself. Remember that.
No, that does not matter. These are wise words from Not a Strong Start.
Not a strong start. It only matters what they think about you, not what you think of yourself. It's like,
No, it doesn't matter.
We're going to have a whole collection of mottos of not a strong start. It's just like, it goes completely opposite of everything that you've been hearing in life about try to be positivity. It's not, it's negativity, because if there's so many positive people in the world, well, everything's balanced, right? It's like a battery. Got to have, for every positive power, there's got to be a negative power on the opposite end. Be the supervillain.
Daniel, do you realize that this is exactly what you said the movie Life is Beautiful was going to be about? Is what you just said? You don't remember.
Oh, I don't. And now it's all coming back to me. He's trying to be positive when everything negative happens to him, which is actually kind of a little bit on the mark a little bit. It's about a guy that's trying to be positive while all these negative things are happening around him.
Okay, well, okay, here we go. Life is Beautiful. Daniel watched it last night. Here we go, because you have to tell me, what is the movie about, Daniel?
All right. So the movie I was pretty right on here, because I said it was about a series of bad events happening around a guy that's trying to remain optimistic when everything around him is telling him not to be. For the most part, that's what I said, verbatim-ish.
Yeah.
But just defined in a more eloquent way, I would like to imagine. Now, this movie was exactly precisely that. So it's about a series of events happening to this poor, unfortunate soul of a man that's trying to remain optimistic, despite the fact that the world's telling him otherwise.
He's also he's making it optimistic. It's not an optimistic movie. I mean, it is in the first half is optimistic and lovely, and then the second half is very different. And then, but he tries to make everything look optimistic. So,
but even then, I would even argue with the first half where they set it up where it seems so optimistically, but there's still a lot of negative things that are occurring.
There are.
So like, it's still the fact that it's just the difference though, is that this is a little more through his point of view, a little bit, you kind of see it through that. So through that prism. So that's what it is about so I put down a man's pursuit of his princess until him and his son are taken to a Jewish concentration camp. Yeah.
So that was the next question. What historical event time period does the movie take place in?
It takes place in I was trying to make a funny joke right now. I could literally nothing.
You can't make a funny joke about that.
What? I can, because that's what the movie's about, making humor in non-stop, but it's World War II. So there you go.
Yeah, it ends up being a very sad Holocaust movie. So yeah.
It does.
Okay. Next question. I feel like I have to hold the mic up like this so you can hear me. Guido, that was his name, was it not?
Yes, but it was also a slur that one time they said it, and then he just happened to be his name.
Okay.
They didn't.
That's not true.
That's not true.
Guido works as what? But he is trying to open what kind of business?
He's a porn star and he's trying to open up a nice boutique. He's not. He's a waiter, and he's trying to open up a bookstore. So a boutique, I said, pretty close to a bookstore. I tried to make a joke, but it was actually almost correct with the answer. But yeah, he's a waiter and he's trying to open up a bookstore.
It was almost correct.
Pretty close. Yeah. I mean, they're both pretty similar in the fact that you're trying to service another individual and you're doing it for the pleasurement and the entertainment of others. So kind of technically ish in the same ballpark ish. Kind of.
So listen up, waiters. You're no different than porn stars. Just to let you know.
Especially if you're serving meat.
When Guido first meets Dora, what does he do to her thigh and why?
Does he suck a stinger out of her thigh?
Yeah. That
I'm
was
assuming
smooth,
because
man.
he has to get the stinger out, right? So that's why.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he has to get the stinger out. But I mean,
Yeah.
that was pretty smooth. He's like, I'm gonna suck the stinger out of your thigh and get the poison in meat. And like, there you go, Principessa.
Well, there you go. See, so that's just showing you how much of a hero he is, despite the
Yeah.
fact that another negative thing happening. Because who wants to get hit with a stinger, right? That hurts. But no, there he is, trying to remain optimistic, and a suckle of lips upon her thigh, just sucking out the the juices. There we are.
Suddenly like a romance novel that Daniel's writing.
Romance. I mean, according
Romance.
to Guido, it kind of felt like it, right? It felt like it's a little bit on par. So I would say so, yeah.
What does Joshua think that him and his dad will turn into?
I didn't miss that part. What was it?
So Joshua is Guido's son, and they end up in the concentration camp together. And when Joshua's playing with the other children, he comes back and says to his dad, all the other kids say that they're going to turn us into soap and buttons.
Oh yeah, no. I know that. Okay, what think him and his dad will turn it? Oh, gotcha. The soap and buttons, yes. And then there's a scene where he's talking about the buttons and referring to a character that's in it, and the soap where you're
Yeah.
scrubbing her face, and the kid
Yes,
saying about the oven. And he's like, oh, we're just wood that's getting piled in there. Like, what are we? Pieces of wood?
I
Yes,
know.
got it.
I
Okay,
was,
now I understand your
yeah,
question. Physically
yeah,
turn into. I thought it was
yeah,
part of their imagination of what they were
yeah,
turning into. So I was like, okay, I missed that part,
yeah,
but no, I
yeah.
got it.
Okay. What very important matter does Dr. Lessing need to talk to Guido about?
Solving the riddle, right? Is
Yeah.
that the one? So it's about
Yeah.
whether it's a duckling, but he says it's not a duckling. And I still need to know what that
Yeah.
answer was.
I don't remember.
Oh, he never
I
said the
don't
answer.
I don't think so. Dr. Lessing is a German doctor who was friends with Guido before like the war actually was like in full effect.
Hmm.
And then Guido would wait on him as a waiter and he would ask him riddles and the doctor loved that. And then when Guido was in the concentration champ, oh no. Oh, I can't talk.
Concentration camp. That's when he found him when they were doing I guess a physical check of each of the prisoners, and he saw him and
Yes.
he's like, Guido, yes, it is me. And so he assigns him to be a waiter. And he thinks that he's gonna have him escape and he's gonna help him because he keeps saying, I need to talk to you. So he thinks he's gonna help him escape until he realizes he just needed the answer. He needed help to answer the riddle.
It's heartbreaking when you watch it. It's a heartbreaking scene and you see Guido's eyes be like, oh my God. According to Guido, what are 3 rules of the game?
Okay, you can't cry, can't say you want to see your mama, and you can't say you want a snack.
Correctamundo. I think I said that word
Yes.
wrong, but
Mundo.
okay. Correctamundo.
Correctamundo. It's like Reese's and Reese, and I say
Yeah.
Reese's Pieces. Or you say Reese.
No, I say Reese peanut butter cups and Reese's pieces.
But it still uses Reese's though, right? In the word. So like there's no why would it be
I
pronounced
don't,
different?
well, because Reese's pieces is plural. It's Reese's pieces.
So there
Maybe
must be a
Reese's is
guy
the
named
old
Reese
branding.
and these belong to him. Oh, give me
Yeah.
some of that. What? It's Reese's. I can't. Well, the guy's name is Reese. He sounds like a douche.
And then the people got sick of it and they tore Reese's to pieces and they cut them up.
So much darker than what I would have went with that. I was just gonna say, oh, they're just being mean to him, so they just broke his candy into pieces. But no, you went
No.
straight to him and little
Yeah.
pieces and everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you win the game and what is the prize?
You don't break the rules. You must follow the game, and the first one to 1,000 points wins a real tank.
Yes. I'm very impressed. You were paying attention. Yay.
It is, and it's the first time. Last time you didn't send me the questions beforehand, so I just watched the movie and I don't remember what the questions were. So now that I'm doing this, I'm like, okay, now I can actually fill them in along the way.
Sometimes we make it difficult on each other and don't send each other the questions. Where it's like, just watch it and
Unnecessarily.
just, yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you really want to watch it, then you'll just watch and remember everything, and then it's just like
Yeah. And we have the worst memories ever. So it's just, yeah.
goldfish. Goldfish actually have better memories. They're insulted the fact that we say we have a memory of a goldfish. They have a
Yeah.
better memory than us.
They are in their little fish bowls and they can't remember stuff. And they're like, oh, I have the memory of a Daniel. And then the other one's like, okay, I have a memory of a Marie.
In fish world, is derogatory. Daniel and Marie are derogatory terms where they even say, you know what, Daniel, you. Oh yeah, you piece of Marie. That's what they say. And then they have their own Reese's Pieces, but like Marie's Pieces conversation about this. You see how it comes full circle here?
I was waiting because I was like, there's a Reese's Pieces joke coming. There's a Reese's Pieces joke coming. I'm like, who's going to say it first? And I'm glad you did. You snuck it in there. It was so organic. Okay. What is the game really?
A concentration camp, trying to stay alive.
Correctamundo. Okay. And how does the movie end?
The tank at the end rescuing the boy, and the dad dying in the corner behind the wall, so we can't see. And then, but the little boy does find the mother.
Yeah.
So he does find the mom, which tells you then that the dad going to try to find her was actually a moot point because they ended up getting him killed when he didn't unnecessarily. They really didn't have to. Should have just stayed with the boy at that point. It also makes you wonder too with that point, right? Like I understand his desire to go and rescue the wife, but at the same time, you're really putting your son in harm's way with the fact that you're leaving him by himself. You know what I'm saying? And even he knew he was going to die. That's what it seemed like.
We're gonna get there. I don't have very many fun facts, and they're not even all that fun. There's just a couple facts, and I feel like I'm green. Like, why do I
So they're unfun facts.
They're just facts.
Marie's unfun facts.
Unfun facts. Straight facts.
Unfun. You got him.
Guido's wife Dora is played by Roberto Benigni's real life wife Nicoletta Braschi, and I think
a Braschi.
Braschi. So I think that's very sweet that his wife is in his movies, and it's just so cute. And then Roberto Benigni, who's Guido, he not only directed the film, but also co-wrote the screenplay and played the lead role. And the movie was honored with the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film, Best Original Score, and Best Actor. And I remember watching that on TV. And when he won, he
stood on his
crawled
seat.
He crawled over people's chairs to get to the stage. And
he first stood on his seat, right? He stood on his seat and did that, and then crawled over people's chairs, just rubbing his all over the top of people's heads.
Okay, it wasn't that graphic, people. Like, I mean, but now that
it literally happened.
Videos are okay. I mean, the YouTube vids on that clip from those awards is going to go up.
You're
because
welcome.
of Danielson. Yeah. The last one. The film's emotional impact led to an overwhelming response from the audience, with applause lasting for a remarkable 15 minutes. 15 minutes after it was over, people were like,
"Where at Cannes Film Festival?"
Or I think it was. I didn't write that part, but I think it was. Do you have any Daniel's notes or no?
Daniel's notes. I do. First of all, It's a complete waste of my freaking time. First of all, this was more insulting than me making you watch the heavyweights. Second of all. Third of all, I said the transition into the flower shop was cool to show the time lapse. When then you see the little boy running out, Joshua. It was unique about the way he shows his wife that he loves her. And then he was still around with the music playing at night. And then him and his son talking into the microphone before they're kicked out. So that way the wife knew. So she keep fighting. His hope dying when the doctor asked for the riddle answer and thought he was going to be saved. And you see him just dying inside on the eyes. That's how I felt when I kept watching this movie. And then when they killed him off screen, I said it was good for the audience because they didn't have to show it. And it still seemed like they kept it with the comedy, right? They kept a comedic feel for it, even when they had the dramatic moments that were coming in, which was unique and it was interesting the way that they did that. I'm kidding. The movie was good. It was good. It was good overall, and the directing was interesting. And when you saw, I wish they would have played a little more into the horror of it a little bit. It seemed like they could have hung on to that a little bit more. So you had moments where the dad was like when he was carrying the weight around, right? And he's trying to look strong because the son was watching him. They could have had moments to really show, I think, to play around with the duality of it. So as much as he was playing the optimistic for the son, it seemed like he was playing optimistic to the audience. And it seemed like that's the message that they did, because even at the very end, the mom was super happy and smiley when she hugged her son. But it's like clearly he's there without the dad. So like he died. But they didn't show us the mom questioning or the wife questioning where he was or showed worry or any of that. Instead, it seemed like a comedy and even ended with a da as they freeze framed. So it seemed like they took a very lighthearted approach to something very dramatic, which again is interesting and unique. So that was cool. But like I said, I made the joke about how everything was negative even in the beginning, but in a sense it was, because he took that other guy's, when he took his wife, he took her from another man. And even when the egg landed on the man's head, there's still negative things happening around him and to the people around him. And despite that happening, he was still trying to remain optimistic and aloof, much like to the son. But my biggest thing, though, that I was seeing was I don't see why. I understand the desire to go for the wife and the mom, but when you see that it kind of ended unnecessarily, the way that he died, and then you think the dangers that he left his son to be by himself in this concentration camp seems really dangerous. I would have to wonder, because at that point, because like if you're a father, as much as you want to go and you rescue your wife, you have a child that you have to protect more, that takes precedence over the parents. So at that point, you sacrifice yourself for your child. So it would have been different if he was there with his wife and it's like, I have to sacrifice myself to go save the son. But leaving your son behind to go try to find your wife, knowing that you're probably going to die, knowing how risky it was, that seemed a little sloppy to me, in a sense where you saw the love that he had for his son and obviously the love that he had for his wife, but then it seemed you kind of prioritized it a little wrong.
Right. I was thinking about that too. And then I'm trying to think about how to justify that is what was happening at the end was that the Nazis were taking everyone, as many people as they can, and just killing them. And so that's why he hid his son. There was nowhere for him to hide. And I wonder if he's thinking, I'm going to die regardless because they're getting rid of all of us before anyone comes. So before I die, I want to go see my wife one more time. Maybe tell my wife this is where our kid is in case anything happens to you. Like, this is where he is. And the whole first half of the movie is the pursuit of him for his wife. I think that if there wasn't that last hope for him to like be with her and see her one last time, I think that would feel like their relationship didn't mean much. But of course, it's better to stay with your child and protect your child. Understand? But I don't know how he felt like he was protecting him by hiding him in there. And then I don't know. I'm trying to think about how to
No, that
justify
makes
it.
sense, and I think that's a direction you can take to justify the ending for that, which I see. I almost kind of wish that they never showed us with the son and the mother. I understand that they wanted to show us at the very end to give us some level of hope at the end, but
Hmm.
I feel like it would
Yeah.
have been a little more impactful if you just saw him picked up by the American guy in the tank and they left, and then it
Yeah.
just ended. Because then you really don't know. You have to assume at that point that the mom died, which seemed
Yeah.
like a very realistic option here.
Yes.
So I just think it'd be a little more impactful. But again, that's not the type of movie that this was. This movie was a lot more of an optimistic, uplifting, despite the fact that it's negative stuff around it. So it seems like trying to find the positivity in life, even when things seem very serious.
I think it would have been impactful if like they were just driving down the road and there was all those people driving down like sorry, all those people walking beside them and you're driving down the road and the American soldier like had the kid and the kid was like cheering and then it like freeze framed and that was the end. And then it's kind of like cute because then it's like, well, if she did die, the husband and the wife would be together, like in a sense. But I know it was a very uplifting movie. It's like very life is beautiful. Like he really wanted to show you like there's beauty and it's going to be happy. But some of the complaints that this movie got from critics and stuff was that they felt it made too light of the Holocaust.
So let me play at angel and devil on this, okay? Because I feel like there's a compelling argument to both of those things. So the first one is, well, we've seen that done a million times. This movie was not about the concentration camp because it was for the second half of the movie. This movie was about the character and the man's pursuit of his princess, right? With the son and all that. That's what that represented. Was that the movie was not about the concentration camp. That was just an obstacle that occurred to the characters in the second half of the movie, one could argue. The movie was not set up for you to believe that that's where the direction the movie was going. So you've
Mhm.
had some movies where it's like, oh, well, that's just the second half of the movie. It's like, yeah, but it was leading up to that. This movie didn't lead up to that. It kind of came out of nowhere. So you can almost argue it was two different movies. So to sit there and say it should have been gruesome and it should have been that, then you're changing the entire tone of the movie. So that's where you argue that way. You can also then, to play the devil's advocate on this other side of it, is yeah, okay, but then you are dealing with something so serious. And the fact that you're dealing with it lighthearted, you had moments that you could have really, even if you did it very minimally, or at least very few opportunities, you could have really delved into the sadness of life and been able to kind of offset the joy of it to show how much he's trying to keep his son happy because you see the harsh realities of the concentration camp. The portrayal of this concentration camp and the Germans themselves didn't look that bad other than carrying weight and knowing that people died, you never actually saw people die. And even when the main
Oh,
guy died, you see him do it behind a wall so that they protect the audience from it. So again, it has like an aloof feeling to it. It feels very childlike the way this movie was presented. So you could argue then in that case is that there was moments that you could have really brought the adultness to it and could have had you could have had a couple of moments because even when the biggest moment that they had that made it seem horrible was when the guy thought he was going to escape with his son and then it was just for the riddle and you saw the hope dying in his eyes. Outside of that, you see him even mocking the German soldiers and they did nothing to beat him or anything. You saw one scene where you saw one guy that injured his arm and they were taking him, it seemed like, to the hospital or something like that. So they tell you how ugly and dark the concentration camp was, but you never actually saw it other than them being dirty and doing physical work. So
right.
there's the counter argument to myself about it. But like I said in the first half, my other argument was, but you go watch Schindler's List then if you want to go and watch a real concentration camp about something that's going to make you feel like crap. Like we've seen it enough. So this was an
Mhm.
interesting take on something that's so dark and trying to take a very positive spin to that. So I would have kind of done a little bit of the meshing of the two together. And I for sure would have at least focused on a couple of very real adult moments just to show the seriousness of how serious it was. Because if you went into this not knowing much about World War II, and I know it's impossible, but let's be honest, there's probably 16, 15, 12-year-olds right now, all on social media that don't really know that much about history. And they hear about Germans in World War II. But if they were to watch this movie and this is their first take into this, they wouldn't really know how bad it really was. Right. I mean,
Mhm.
other than the characters talking about it, it's always what you do in
Yeah.
movies where it's show, don't tell. You want to see some of that stuff. I think it would be so much more impactful to know how much the dad is protecting of his son, of like, hey, look over here while real horror is happening over here. And if you don't see
Mm.
that on screen, then it's more of you as a viewer is having to fill in the gaps and paint in the pictures, which means you would have to know much more about the lore and everything that you do, which is very easy to do because a lot of people know about the World War II stuff. But
Yeah.
I think if you would have given us a little bit of hints of that, it would have felt a lot more adult. And this felt very much like a family movie in a weird way. Like kids could watch this movie.
Yeah. Well, to me, Roberto Benigni is kind of like a little kid. I don't know.
Yes.
I feel like that's a lot like how he is in real life, but I know him in person. But I don't know. But then to me, I was just like, I didn't like the scene where the old people and the kids go to the shower. I didn't like seeing them take off their clothes and you know that they're going in the shower and they're gonna all die. That to me was like, oh my God, because you know what happens, you know. And to me,
Yeah.
that was terrible. And also
Yeah.
when he's holding his sleeping son and he turns the corner and he sees all those dead bodies piled up. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh," that like, he clears this fog and you see it and you see his face, and it's like, you know that he knows, and he's protecting his son from the horrors, and it's kinda like, this is what he's looking at, and this is what he's doing. He's protecting his son from it, but this is what it is, almost like a metaphor, that one scene.
It
And
did.
mm,
It kind of had a little bit of like a weird Amelie feel to something so serious by this. And what I mean is like you have this character that doesn't really feel all the way believable in the sense
mhm,
where, they don't feel like they exist in our world. There's like an aloofness to him, almost like a Mr. Bean quality a little bit to this character. But again, there's something positive to that because it's like, well, we've seen the seriousness and this is a different portrayal of that.
yes.
So we're seeing a different portrayal of this and we're getting a more comedic feel, which you would never think about having a comedy. It seems like something like Taika Waititi did this, right? With Jojo Rabbit, a movie that I made you watch.
Exactly.
It was a
Yes.
similar thing. We took something very serious that still had to do with the same historical event. And yet here we are doing something that's comedic about it because we showed a little kid and we went that world with it. But in that
Yeah.
one, okay, here we go. Here's why they did a little bit of what I talked about is because your main character was a kid. So it makes sense now why a lot of the narrative was a little distorted, why the camera views were a little lower, why it seemed a little more magical.
Yeah.
And you saw the fantasy of having the imaginary character, but they still showed you the realness of the feet of the mother dangling, and you see the boy. So it's a way to protect the audience and the boy from seeing it, but you saw the actual death and they put it right in your face. And that's what I'm talking about. We don't need to see people getting beaten up and all this stuff. You just want to see it. But like you said, there was that scene where he was carrying his son and you physically see the body stacked up and he's physically keeping his son away from seeing it. So there were hints of it. I guess at this point, it's probably more of a preference thing, I guess.
Mhm.
You prefer to see something, a little more, but Jojo Rabbit kind of had some of that stuff. But even then you saw people dying in that movie. I really think it's just him doing a different portrayal and him viewing the world differently. You almost
Mhm.
feel like this character is kind of loosely based a little bit on his point of view about things.
Yeah.
That's the sense that I get with it. And it seems like this is like him saying, I'm going to make the world happy despite the fact that real bad stuff is happening, which is ironic because that's the story I told as Life is Beautiful. I had no idea there was this movie. I didn't know what it was about. I was just literally just making jokes as I was going with what I thought the movie was about. And it was actually pretty right on in terms of the character's portrayal of all this stuff. That despite the fact that the character is trying to do good and trying to see the things positively, negative things are still happening around them. And it's sad because, not to go too deep on this, but we kind of live in a world now where there's a lot of negative things that are happening. And unfortunately, we have a lot of people that are succumbed to the negativity. So when you see those random people that you meet that seem to be very optimistic, people tend to respond really well to them. And it's like, oh, wow, this person's really positive because we don't get very much of that. It feels almost to some sense like this character, like Guido. You're, not trying to compare that our world right now has anything to do with the concentration camp, but there's a lot of negativity around it. And you have somebody that's trying to be positive and trying to act aloof, despite the fact that they know that they're dealing with real negative consequences around them. So the doctor, what's his name? Dr. Lessing. Yeah. I actually really liked his character, oddly enough, because he was so interesting and fascinating to me. And he represented a different character that the movie didn't have represented by somebody else. Because you had somebody that was so selfish in their own ways. And even though he's made or portrayed to be positive because he liked and got amusing out of the main character, he clearly didn't give a damn about him. Because even the character says, oh, they have my wife and my sons here. The guy didn't care. He was trying to say it should be a duckling, but it's not a duckling. And even though that's a sad moment in a sadistic, dark way, you almost have to chuckle about it because it's like this man literally didn't give a damn. And it's like it still shows you he's a German. So he's a
Yeah.
Nazi, right? So
Mhm.
it's like if he wasn't, then he'd have a heart. And it's like that's not what Nazis were, right? Like they had this agenda, this propaganda that they were pushing, this narrative. And when you have that character, he was very fascinating and interesting in this movie because it represented almost the true idea of Nazi that we've seen represented in other movies, but done in a very playful, kiddish way,
Yeah.
right? Without showing them being so angry. It's like we've seen enough of that. You have this character again, and when you see the hope of Guido's of to me the most impactful deep scene to me was that scene was him
Yeah.
finding out that he just wanted the answer to the riddle.
Yeah, because that movie was so like keeping it positive. We're gonna get out of here. Keeping it positive. We're gonna get out of here. Here's our chance, and you're like, oh, here's their chance.
Yeah,
Like, you're gonna get out of here. Life is beautiful. It's gonna be work out, and then do as a viewer like, oh no,
it's
they're
not
stuck
going
there.
to.
It's not
Yeah.
gonna happen for them.
You knew it wasn't going to anyways. Like you knew it, and all the way through. That's why I'm like, it seemed more realistic that the wife wouldn't have made it. It seemed like she
I
wouldn't have
know.
made it. Maybe the son, the way that they went about it, okay. Some of it too, like a little bit of like it verges a little bit sometimes on too unbelievability, on the sense
Mm.
where he's too aloof and he's mocking the Germans, and like they would have beaten the crap out of him or killed him. This portrayal of the concentration camp didn't feel that scary, despite the fact that you know that it is. If you were to ignore and delete from your brain, get your Marie memory, pretend like you didn't know anything about World War II, and you were to watch just based off this, sure, it looks bad, but it didn't look that bad. Not nowhere
No,
near the true horrors of World War II.
no, and to me, like it felt like it had a fairy tale vibe to it. Like, it had a
It
really like
did.
a fairy tale vibe in lots of ways, and I know exactly what you're saying, but I think it's just because I don't have my memory erased. I know how horrible it really was, and I can kind of like forgive it for that reason because like you say, I've seen enough movies that
Yeah.
have been devastating, and it's like and I understand this was just his vision, and I don't know. I mean, I watched that movie when I was a kid. So I think I just because I watched it when I was so young, it affected me a lot harder. So and maybe as an adult, if I was watching it for my first time, I would see more exactly what you're saying. I do see what you're saying, but I'd feel
Yeah.
it a little bit more.
So that's why I say it's a dual prong thing for me on this. Is one way is like, oh, you could have done a few little things to make it seem a lot more of a deeper movie where it's like, man, this is really freaking deep. Like this is like an A+ quality film here. But then
Mm.
at the same time, I love the fact that they didn't either. And the fact that it's something else and it is feels very magical and it feels very playful. And the fact that you gave me this, we've never seen something quite like this necessarily. But okay, so we've seen a lot of slavery movies.
Yeah.
Django Unchained gave us
Mhm.
something different like this, where in terms of, well, we made it like a cool action comedic movie about slavery
Also romance.
and also romance. So like you gave us stuff that felt very action packed superstar, 90s kind of feel to it with all these flares to it, but it was still about slavery. So you can still give different representations of movies. And that's why I think overall with this movie, I'm not saying it's flawed in this of what I was saying that it could have had. To me, it's just it's an like the way I analyze movies is I'll look at movies and saying, okay, based off the story and things that you were telling me, your movie is still missing these things because you're not fully capturing what you could have captured here. Then I'll look at other ones and say, okay, well, based off of what you gave me, did you do everything that you could have done, or however you go with that, or did you make bad turns because story wise you took it in a weird direction that you didn't necessarily properly set up for this movie? Based off the movie that you gave us, it kind of captured everything that it presented to us. And that's why I say that first half of the movie is not something to be dismissed. The first
Mm.
half of the movie set us up for the tone and the expectations of this movie.
Mhm.
It's random with the fact that he does end up dying at the end, and even the fact that he goes to concentration camp is because nothing ever led us to believe that it was ever going to end in tragedy at all. And nothing
No.
ever gave us the sense that there was real danger lurking around
Mhm.
the corner
No.
until just randomly it comes in halfway through the movie. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And it really was over halfway through the movie. I was looking at the time frame because I wanted to see when they did the transition of the time lapse. It was over halfway through the movie. So if somebody was to watch this movie and saying I don't like it because it took a completely tonal change on me and it was felt like a very entirely different movie, I'm not I can't sit here and argue and say why they're wrong. I understand. I personally liked it because it was interesting because I felt like the first half kind of ran its course and it felt like it was good, but I felt like okay already, like well, we need to move on with the story. The second half was like okay, now you have my more of my attention because now you have a real tight story here of what you're doing. The first half though, when you see him sneak inside, that's what I'm saying. There's certain little things where he straight up steals the guy's car, right? Or whatever it is, or is driving somebody else's car, and like he doesn't even know how to drive. So you see the thing flying off and all this stuff. But like you literally stole somebody's vehicle, and then you're in danger. You guys could, and it's in this like rain, like you guys could literally die. Like you can literally kill her right now, and
Supposed
this
to be
movie would end in
romantic.
like, yeah, and you could die in like 25 minutes. So like I see what they're doing, but at the same time, you're also you're like a creeper. Like you're stalking this woman. You know how they always say the difference between a stalker and then somebody that's chivalrous, that's like romanticizing the hell out of you, is whether you find them attractive. If you think they're ugly and you don't, they're a straight up stalker and it's unwanted. But if it's somebody, if not, then it's romantic and it's sweet. So when she looked over in the car and she sees him just, like Mr. Bean smile on his face, you can easily say you just kidnapped her. It could have been a very dark turn on this movie. And that's what I'm saying. It's just, did she find it endearing or not? And if she didn't,
She must have. She must have.
yeah, exactly. Clearly she did. But you could have went that route with it. Like this could have turned really bad very quickly if it wasn't reciprocated. And the fact that she was already engaged, right? When she engaged to that guy.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, kind of a dirtbag move you're making here. You're trying to straight up steal the other guy's life right now. Again, that's what's fascinating about it, because you can watch this movie and two people can have very, very different point of views and experiences watching this movie. Right? The characters telling you, they're selling you on this optimistic, positive thing, despite the fact that everything around you is telling you that it's not. You're ending a man's life by stealing his woman. Like that's what you're doing.
He was a Nazi sympathizer anyway, so whatever.
He was a Nazi. Yeah, exactly. Right. What do they know? But she probably would have been saved at the same time. And then she was, right? She kind of went to the concentration camp to go there because the family was going there. But then it ended up getting, so a lot of things there. But if she didn't do that, he wouldn't have went to try to save her, which means he still technically would have been alive with the son at the end of the movie. Just saying. Just saying. It's all their fault.
She was his ultimate demise.
That was it, man. He lived and died for her.
So the big question, Daniel, is, are you going to rage quit it or are you going to play it back?
What do you think my answer is going to be?
I don't think that you hated it, but I don't know if you will play it back. And if you do play it back, I think it'll be just maybe one more time.
Yes. So I would play it back again, but I think I would do it one more time if I play it back again. And the reason being is like, I want to see, if I did play it back again, I'd really pay attention to see if I missed any underlining like second layer stuff, but I don't think there was second layer stuff. I think it was pretty surface level for the movie. I wish it had second layer stuff. That's the only thing. But yeah, it was a good movie, so I won't rage quit it. I won't put in the rage quit it section. But yeah, if I watched it again, I do it that way. And as I say, I see both ways. I see the whimsical, playful side, to it. The son was great in it. I thought the son was really adorable. Cute little kid. The wife, is she normally an actress?
I think, but I know.
Yeah, I just didn't, which is ironic because I didn't really see the connection necessarily. It seemed like he was really selling it and all that stuff. And, when I really pay attention and watch characters, I really like multi-dimensional, multi-layered characters. His character is very layered. That's why the scene when the hope in his eye dies was so fascinating to me, because it's like, oh man, I wish I got more of this. Even the ending where he tells his son, go in there, I'm gonna go find your mom. If there would have been a moment where he closes it and you kind of see him pause, and like a moment where he's trying to fight back a tear.
Yeah.
Something like that, where I'm like, okay, it's clearly there. The character's not dumb or naive, or they call him simple. Depth. Yeah, like don't make it seem like the character is just simple-minded and he just doesn't process other emotions and the guy's just a moron. That's why I use the term Mr. Bean. Like, make it seem like he really fully understands what's going on. Like, I know he does, but I don't see the emotional layers there. If you would have hinted at it a little bit or showed me little things and you keep seeing him suppress it, that would have been way more impactful to me. So I understand that this elusiveness, the aloofness that he keeps doing, is more based off of him really protecting his son versus maybe the guy's just that simple, and he just doesn't really fully understand. You know what I'm saying? We're
Yeah.
made to believe that he does, and like he gets it, but it seems like his answer to everything in life, even prior to that, was just not fully understanding the stakes of his life and like things around him and how serious things were. Like, it'd be nice to know that even despite the fact that you're still trying to see that life is beautiful, it's still nice to sometimes see the person questioning whether they truly believe that or not.
Yeah, and I
That's
feel
deep
like,
to me, and that's beautiful to me.
well, I think in order to truly believe that life is beautiful, you have to experience and absorb the not beautiful side of it. And you
Yes,
need
to
to like
appreciate it.
feel, yeah, feel the ugliness and the pain and everything like that to really be like, no, life is beautiful and that I'm gonna focus on that, and like it makes the beauty elevated instead of just being like zero depth like a robot and you're just like an airhead, like, oh, life is so beautiful, whatever, I'm not worried about anything. It's like, well, no,
Mhm.
because what makes something beautiful is like knowing the existence of ugliness and pain and all that.
Yes, it kind of reminds me a little bit like the sheriff from Clueless. You know what I'm talking about? Where it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
sure, there's stakes in your life, but you're super wealthy and none of it's really going to impact you in a way that's like very devastating to your life and completely change the way you're living your lifestyle. It's just, oh no, some people are kind of mad at you. Oh no, you're a little unpopular right now.
yeah.
Cry me a river. Like that doesn't connect with people, you know what I mean? Like this. So to something like this, it's like you have people that are mourning and in pain and all this stuff. And it's like, it seems like they're living more sadder realities or existence at that particular time because they're trying to find joy, or they're not even trying to find joy. They've accepted their fates, or they've seen the death around it. This guy still being this positivity. I don't know. I really wish I saw a little more hints of it. I really wish I saw more of the suppression.
It's funny that you say that at that scene where he puts his son in like that box, and that you wish you saw something there. Because when I watched it back this time, I thought the exact same thing. I'm like, he's just like trying to make it fun, and he's like, "Hey, bye, I'll see you. I'm gonna get your mom." And there's this urgency in him, but you know deep down this could be the last time you're ever going to see your son and he's ever going to see you. And I feel like there should have been more of like a protection, like if they had a moment of like the boy's view and like the dad's eyes through the slot and saying you hear his voice and you see a tear and then like whatever and him being upset. Like I wanted to feel that parental, like I understand the romance aspect and I love the romance aspect of this movie, but I wanted to feel more of that parental um protection and like just how devastating it would be to be away from your child, you know? Like I wanted to really feel that. But I wasn't a parent the first time I watched it, and now I am a parent and I'm like, "Oh no, like that would suck,
Yeah.
that part." Like you gotta, yeah,
Because
cherish
things
it.
change. It's like the romanticism is still so eloquent and beautiful, and you strive for that. But it's like what we talk about, like the Romeo and Juliet thing, is like this
Yeah.
idea until real life problems and things affect, but you still keep alive the romanticism of things. But that parental, that's a different type of love, and you are literally going to sacrifice yourself. It's an unconditional love that's just like unlike anything else. And the fact that we saw him protecting his son and doing all these things, great, but like you were so quick to just say goodbye knowing you're not going to come back,
Yeah.
and like there was not even a look back. Like I've seen look backs in rom-com movies where they're at the airport and they do the
Yeah.
look back. Like that's why sometimes I have a little bit of a problem where is this man just magically addicted to this girl, so he's just kind of like dum da dum da dum just kind of bouncing through life until he just meets almost like a lemur. You know, lemurs just jump off the cliffs and they die.
Oh, a lemming. Lemming.
Lemming, there you go. A lemming. You know how they just like jump off the cliff and then they just die? But
Yeah.
like they willingly did it. So like you can't say how sad of the lemming because it like it chose that. This guy's essentially doing the same thing. So to know that he's may not see his son and there's so much pain with that, it tells me that he understands the stakes that he's in. I don't know if he ever fully got that because they never really showed me. The only
Yeah.
hint, and I think that's why my favorite scene of the entire movie was the his hope dying in his eyes, because that told me you cared. There was
Yeah.
more to the what you're perceiving and you're putting out there. That's why I was like, I wish I got more of this because
Yeah.
it was even a subtle look. It wasn't even a very obvious look. So maybe I just misread that it was more confusion and like, okay, this isn't the option, but we'll still bounce out of this anyway. Like,
No,
is it like, yeah?
no, you saw that hope die. I don't know. I felt it when I watched it.
No,
I was like,
I
oh,
did too. I did too. But again, nothing else in the movie really gave us that. Again, at least in my first viewing. That's why I say if I was to go back and do a second viewing, which I'm very open to, those are the hints that I would look at. And if I'm entirely wrong, I would go back on our podcast and say, whoa, I misread. This movie's so much deeper. I just want to feel like I really, really want to see little hints that it existed throughout. And him leaving his son was a very obvious place to put it. That would have been like, oh, okay, cool.
yeah, that was definitely a missed opportunity right there. That to me, that is probably the my biggest complaint about that movie is that right there, that scene and how, yeah, that was definitely it.
Mm-hmm. So
Hmm.
there you go. You guys know how the game is played. This is how we're going to do it every time we do late to the game. One of us makes the other one watch the movie. We ask a series of questions before we watch it, and then we follow up with the question and see how right or how wrong we were. And then more importantly, we're going to rage quit it or we're going to play it back.
Right. And it's usually Daniel giving me a movie, but I just hijack the hell out of this one. I'm like, I'm
You
hijacking it.
did.
I'm forcing you to watch this one. I need to hear your thoughts.
She saw, I was like, oh, whose is that? Reese's. Oh, well, I'm taking that. Screw Reese.
Yep.
I'm taking his candy. That's what she did.
Right into pieces. If anybody wants to watch Life is Beautiful, good luck. You can't find it anywhere.
Life is supposed to be beautiful, and yet they don't want us to see that.
I had to buy the movie, a DVD, a hard copy of this movie in order to watch it because in Canada I had nowhere to watch it. So I also want to do a big shout out to the Entertainment Exchange in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Grand Park Mall, best service ever. And I don't know what I would have done without you, Entertainment Exchange. I don't. You'll never watch this, but yeah, you're the best.
And I had to kidnap a family from Iowa. I had to kidnap them, and so I rummaged through their DVD collection, and they happen to have Life is Beautiful. So there you go.
And now they're turned into Reese's Pieces in his basement.
Whoop, whoop. Thank you to the Flemings.
Thank you for watching this episode of Marie Plays It All. This was Late to the Game with Daniel. That is just your name for this episode. We established that. You're just Daniel. He's a curse word in Goldfish World.
A curse word in Goldfish World. There you go, baby. The most offensive kind, too. So it's kind of a big deal in Goldfish World.
You can find more of our content on our YouTube channel, Not a Strong Start. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Not a Strong Start. You can listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share and comment. And you can follow me on Instagram at Marie Plays It All.
And you can follow me at King_Sangre.
You can never stop playing. And also, people out there, never stop having stores that sell actual hard copies of movies. You guys are heroes, true heroes. And I don't know what we would do without you, and you're lifesavers. So never stop. Never stop.
Get it right. Get it tight. Huzzah!